Oke, tes. Bentar. Ngecek live dulu, guys. Oke, udah. Kita setup dulu. Bentar, nyetap dulu. Bentar, cuy. Oke. Udah. Halo cuy, assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Kembali bersama aku Amir, channel kamera 7. Dan kali kita bakal what the fuck? Nge-lag? Oh enggak. Kali kita bakal mainin game baru lagi ya. Ya, kayaknya gue memutuskan gue tetap bakal maraton Assassin's Creed ya. Tapi setiap Assassin's Creed tamat gue jeda pakai game indie ya, biar gue agak santai dulu lah kontennya ya, nggak ngegas. Nggak terlalu kompe anjir ininya kontennya. Oke dah. Kali ini kita bakal mainin game indie unik, namanya itu The Stanley Parable. Nggak tahu, gue katanya nih gamenya unik ya, cuma gue bener-bener belum tahu ya nih game apa. Oke udah, ini nggak tahu coy, YouTube-nya buffering mulu cok. Bentar, ini delay apa gimana dah? Sabar, ini delay apa gimana? What the fuck? Wih, ini gue udah di English loh. Sabar. Ini delay parah ya. Dah, ya udah tungguin aja. Oke dah, langsung aja kita mulai ya. Have you played Stanley Parable before? No. Never. Adjust. Oke, seperti biasa ya, agak terangan dikit. Nah. Dah. Seperti biasa agak terangan dikit. Shit man, iya cok, delay parah anjing. Sabar, gue coba tonton di akun satu lagi aja ya. Sabar bentar. Please enter fucking current time. Buat apa dia tahu waktuku sekarang? Sabarlah. Ntar kalau gitu anjing jangan 1080 cok. Ntar ini di YouTube merah gue delay cok. Nah, gak pakai second akun nah. Fucking current time. Oh, oke, PM ya, PM. 8 14 15 lah ya bikin. 15. Sabar, kita tunggu sampai 8.15 ya. Biar pas. Nggak tahu gue. OCD kali. Tapi kita tunggu ya sampai 8.15. Baru kita lanjut mulai gamenya. Bentar, belum 8.15. 30 detik lagi. Sabar. 20 detik lagi nih. Sabar. 10 detik lagi. Fucking way. Kenapa lama kali nih 8.15 cok? 10 9 8 7 6. Oh, lama kali ini 1 menit lah. Selama ini 1 menit. Udah 8.15. Oke, let's go. Not accessibility setting can be accessed from the main menu. Oke. I don't know what should we access, man. Udah. Oke. Sabar. Oke, OBS-nya aman ya. Langsung aja kita bikin the game. Never the end is never the end, huh? Klik.
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
Okay.
Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427.
Ya.
Employee number 427's job was simple.
Alright.
He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order.
Okay.
This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year.
Okay.
And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job.
Okay.
And Stanley was happy.
Kok was?
And then one day, something very peculiar happened.
Apa itu?
Something that would forever change Stanley.
Kenapa?
Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong.
Okay.
Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Oke, oh udah main. Oh udah. 427, oke ini mulai ya. Karyawan 427 kita. Alright.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Jangan sampai gue salah game. Bentar, sabar. Oh enggak, bukan game horor. Oke, aman. Aman, guys. Mungkin game horor. Alright. Oke, teman-teman karyawan kita nggak tahu pada kemana ya. Missing semua tuh. Alright.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Oke, left. Ini ikutin narasinya aja ya. Oke, left. Gua nggak tahu apa yang terjadi kalau kanan ya.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
How to solve a dispute with a coworker. Hah? Aduh, gua nggak. Halo, welcome. Aduh, gua nggak baca lagi instruksi dia. Oke, udah ketutup ya.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Dari banyaknya orang ya, dari banyaknya pengguna YouTube di dunia ini, kenapa harus orang Jawa Cibogo ini yang langsung datang? Anjir. Monyet. Lagi main game baru yuk, habis tamat Assassin's Creed kemarin. Nama gamenya ada di judulnya bos, gak usah malas. Monyet. Right.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845.
2845.
But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
Okay, 2845. 5.
Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Wow, apa ini cuy? Buka sendiri pintunya. Anjir. Jangan lagi game horor, cok. Tapi nggak apa lagi sih. Tapi ini gak game horor sih. Alright. Lah, apa sih ini game gak jelas, cok.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
Belum ada unsur-unsurnya nih. Jangan sabar loh kalau udah bagian menghina.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
What? The fuck? Hah? Woi, ini kemana Ki? Ini disuruh ke sana, cok. The fuck, escape? Shit. Anjir. Ini kenapa ada bacaan escape, cok? Anjir, di briefingnya ke sini loh. Ah, fucking hell. Ya udahlah, ikuti briefingnya aja lah ini. Ntar. Nah, Oh shit, now it's fucking close. Okay.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens.
Right.
What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Ini game nggak tahu cok, kayak nggak tahu lah ya. Pokoknya ada escape-nya. Nggak tahu, kayaknya ada orang yang mengalami nasib yang sama kayak Stanley. TV.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Mana kita 427? Oh, itu 427. So, ke sini. Alright. Naik ke atas.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
Apa ini maksudnya deh? Okay.
No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world?
Shit.
But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life.
Okay.
For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Dah. Ini ada tangga coy. Gak ada apa-apa ya. Kemana sih ini anjir gamenya? Belum, masih abstrak ini. Ya udah cobalah ini main control idle, menunggu input. Nah, ada, coba masukin inputnya. Wow.
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
Oke. Berarti kita matiin ya? Ya. Alright.
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty.
Hello, welcome.
Was it over? Yes. He had won. He had defeated the machine. Unshackled himself from someone else's command.
Okay.
Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him. For it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door.
Okay.
Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Kenapa was ya? Bukannya is. Was kan berarti udah happy. Kali ini gak happy. Kenapa was? Nah tuh, apa ini? Lah, apa lagi? The fuck?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
Huh?
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Oh, ini game misteri ya berarti. Oke.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Okay. Oh, lounge.
Ah, yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room.
Okay.
Stanley, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Anjir, ada 2 lagi nih. Jadi cobalah.
And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
Oh no. Loh. Lah, gak masuk komenmu, Cok.
But Stanley didn't want to go back to the office. He wanted to wander about and get even further off track. So now in order to get back, he needed to go,
Sumpah, swear. Malah ditelepon anak monyet jam orang lagi streaming anjing. Kok ada orang kayak gini, Cok? Kalau ditelepon, gak masuk komennya, betul. Kok gak masuk sih komennya, Cok? Ditelepon anjing, streamer ditelepon bangsat. Kira doxing anjing. Oh iya, sumpah tadi nggak masuk komennya. Pantes anjir. Sumpah gak masuk tadi komennya. Babi, Cok, baru kali ini, Cok, anjing YouTuber telepon penonton anjing bangsat, di doxing, Cok. Kurang ajar ini penonton bangsat.
Oh no, it's to the right, my mistake.
Oke. Bangsat lah.
No, not the right. Why would I have ever said it was to the right? What was I thinking? It's clearly... Oh dear, would you hold on for a minute,
welcome, V. Sumpah, V, left chatnya nggak masuk, anjir.
No, let's see, we went down, right, left, down, left, right. Okay, yes. I've got it now. This story is absolutely, definitely this way.
Kesini ya. Welcome, guys. Enjoy. What the fuck? Oh, sini. Kontrol ini lagi ya. Elang entot mustaqim datang.
No. This isn't right at all. You're not supposed to be here yet. This is all a spoiler. Quick, Stanley, close your eyes. Okay, just get back to who am I kidding? It's all rubbish now. The whole story completely unusable. How about, rather than waste my time trying to salvage this nonsense, we'll just restart the game from the beginning. And this time, suppose we don't wander so far off track, Okay, from the top.
Hah? Siapa? Serius kok? Siapa ngeser? Oh, anjing entot. Jangan, Cok.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
Apa?
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Wah, salah jalan, coy. Oh, coba kita ke yang tadi ya, yang ke escape ya. Salah jalan, Cok.
When Stanley... Wait, what? No, I restarted. I swear, I definitely restarted the game over, completely fresh. Everything should be... Oh, did something change?
Ayo lo.
Stanley, did you change anything when we were back in that room with all the monitors? Did you move the story somewhere or... Hold on. Why am I asking you? I'm the one who wrote the story. It was right here just a minute ago. I know for sure that it's here somewhere. Okay, then. It's an adventure. Come, Stanley. Let's find the story.
Wih, ini kemana ini, Cok? Anjir. Kenapa tiba-tiba banyak gini pintunya, anjir? What the fuck? Ini kan tembus ke pintu kiri tadi. Nah ini. Loh. Kusut. Si meme anjing.
I'll say it. This is the worst adventure I've ever been on. I can promise you there definitely was a story here before.
Ya betul anjing.
Do we need to restart the game again? Well, I find it unlikely that we'll ever progress by starting over and over again, but it's got to be better than this. Okay, let's give it a shot. Why not?
Woi, kenapa di restart lagi gamenya? Gak jelas sumpah. What the fuck is this game, man?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Oke, miss a memo. Oke. Kita coba balik ke meeting room ya. Alhamdulillah 4 orang. What the fuck?
Okay, yep,
Mana
it's
lagi
worse.
pintunya,
I might be
anjir?
remembering this wrong.
Malah
It's
semua
possible the
pintunya.
story is back where we just came from.
Cimeme.
Why don't we go back the other direction and see if we missed anything?
Oh, balik. Oke. Oh, tadi tembusnya ke sini, coy, ruangannya. Oh iya. Kemana ini ya? Katanya balik. Siapa tahu kita kemis.
Aha! I knew
What
we'd
the
missed
fuck?
something. The story. Here it comes.
Apa, cok?
No, wait, never mind. Not the story. Okay, let's head back the other way
Sumpah,
and
ini apa sih,
retrace our
anjir?
steps.
Oke, kita balik ya. No comment dah ini game. What the fuck? Ini kenapa kayak kesannya horor-horor
Now
gini,
this-
cok?
Well, I'll be honest, I don't recognize this place at all. Is this the story? I don't think so. I can't quite recall, but I believe my story took place in an office building. Is that correct? Do you remember, Stanley?
Woi,
Well, do you know what? Since I've completely forgotten what we were
Ya,
supposed to be
itu
doing,
mau jam
how
berapa,
about
lupa.
this? You win! Congratulations! I know you put in a lot of hard work, and it really paid off, so good job. Oh, no. No, I don't
katanya
feel
jam
right
8
about
mau
this at
ke
all.
Kosmo.
We both know you didn't put in any actual work for that win. Some people win fair and square, and this was not one of those situations. Okay? I'm getting weirded out by whatever this place is. I don't care what might happen this time. I have to restart.
Babi, cok. Malah berantem di channel orang, bangsat.
All right, I've got a solution. This time, to make sure we don't get lost, I've employed the help of the Stanley Parable Adventure Line.
Oke.
Just follow the line. How simple is that?
Oke. Yaudah ya, kita follow line. Sabar katanya nyanyi dulu,
You
bos.
see, the line knows where the story is. It's over in this direction. Onward, Stanley, to destiny. Though, here's a thought. Wouldn't wherever we end up be our destination, even if there's no story there? Or to put it another way, is the story of no destination still a story? Simply by the act of moving forward, are we implying a journey such that a destination is inevitably conjured into being via the very manifestation of the nature of life itself? Whoa. Hang on. That got a bit weird back there. Well, I'd like to apologize. Not sure where I was going with all that. You know what? I think what we need right now is a bit of music to lighten the mood. Cut the music, go back and look at that fern.
Fern apa? Fern.
Stanley, this fern will be very important later in the story.
Fern itu apa, Fern?
Make
Bentar. Fern apa, Fern? Apa arti Fern, cok? Pakis, the fuck?
sure you study it closely
Oh, ini.
and remember it carefully. You won't want to miss anything.
Beda bodoh. Beda fair anjing Taki goblok. Udah lah, aku pasti rela kau. Oke, udah kita lihat ada Pakis.
Wait, what? We're back at the office? No. Line, you do know we're looking for the Stanley parable, right? The story? Is any of this ringing a bell?
Oke, coba kesini ya. Alright. Oke. Lah, balik lagi.
Oh, no, not again, Line. How could you have done this to us? And after we trusted you, after everything we've been through, you... Oh, I can't take this anymore. To hell with it. Restart.
Again.
You know what, Stanley? I say forget the adventure line. What's it ever done for us? We're intelligent people, right? Why can't we make up our own story? Something exciting, daring, mysterious. Ooh, this all sounds perfectly doable. Why don't we simply start wandering in, well, I don't know. How about this direction?
Alright, let's go. Ini pokoknya gamenya.
Yes, this is exciting. Just me and Stanley forging a new path, a new story. Well, it could be anything. What do you want our story to be? Go wild. Use your imagination. Whatever it might be, Stanley, I'm ready for it.
Alright, me too. I'm ready. Apa adventure kita yang menunggu?
Oh, no, not you again. Stanley, I'd also like to veto the line from having any role in our awesome new story. No lines or monitor rooms. Just don't acknowledge it.
Dari
You should be
atas dia
fine.
masuk, cok. Masuk dari atas dia, anjir. Kurang ajar ini garis. Bangsat. Wah, dijajah garis kita, cok. Alright. Wih. Pergi lagi garisnya. Habis masuk, habis nerobos dia pergi lagi, cok.
Ah, a choice. We get to make a decision. From here, the story is in our control.
All right.
How important we mustn't squander the opportunity. In fact, I believe I need a minute to think here. Just walk in circles for a minute. Okay, so I know that each door has to lead somewhere, which means that somewhere, the place where we're trying to go, there must be a reverse door that leads here. And that in turn means that our destination corresponds with the counter-inverted reverse door's origin. So starting from the right, let us ask, will taking the right door lead us to where we're going? And since the answer is clearly yes, then by all accounts, the door on the right is the correct one. Another victory for logic.
All right.
Come, Stanley, our destiny awaits.
Whoa. What the fuck? What the fuck?
Hold up, what's this?
Oh yeah?
The confusion ending.
Huh?
You're telling me that's what this is? It's all one giant ending? And we're supposed to restart the game, what, eight times? That's really how all this goes?
Wait.
It's all determined?
What the fuck?
So now, according to the schedule, I restart again. Then what? Am I just supposed to forget?
Anjing,
Well, what if I don't want to forget?
Okay,
My mind goes blank simply because it's written here on this thing, wall. Well, who consulted me? Why don't I get to decide? Why don't I get a say in all of this? Is it really? No, it can't be. I don't want it to be. I don't want the game to keep restarting. I don't want to forget what's going on. I don't want to be trapped like this. I won't restart the game. I won't do it. I won't do it. I won't do it.
Forget.
And the timer stopped?
What?
Does that mean, did we do it? Did we break the cycle? The, whatever it is that made this schedule? How would we even know? Will someone come for us? Will something happen? So, okay.
Okay.
I guess now we just wait. You know, I suppose in some way that this is a kind of story. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure if we're in the destination or the journey. Though they're always saying that life is about the journey and not the destination. So I hope that's where we are right now. We'll find out, won't we? Eventually. Well, in the meantime, if you...
Loh, kok restart sendiri, Cok? Loh, mana
All of his
snipernya?
co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
Anjir, lupa
Stanley
dia.
decided to go to the
Lupa
meeting
dia,
room.
Cok.
Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Wih, what the fuck? Beneran lupa dia, coy. Wih, ini restart kelima ya. Ini sampai kita restart ke-8 meninggal beneran Stanley nih. Loh.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors,
left.
he entered the door on his left.
Tadi kita udah kanan ya pokoknya.
Yet there was not a single person here either.
Anjir, beneran
Feeling a
lupa dia.
wave
Bisa
of
ke tempat
disbelief,
itulah ya,
Stanley
coba.
decided to go up to his
Daripada kita
boss's
mati, Cok, di
office,
restart
hoping he might
ke-6,
find an answer
ke-8.
there.
Oke, ini ke atas ya.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Oke.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk. That kind of anxiety isn't healthy, so he relaxed for a few moments with some calming New Age music.
Oke.
Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the opened passageway.
Oke, balik lagi kita ya. Nah ini nih, kita milih escape ya. Jangan milih nih. Jangan milih yang itu, yang ke tempat awal. Kita milih escape ya. Alright.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read
Ini dia ya,
Mind
kita milih escape
Control
ya.
Facility.
Oke, bismillah.
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
What? Am I really dead?
The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get
Anjir,
back on
ditakut-takutin,
track.
Cok. Bangsat. Wih. Ditakut-takutin gini, Cok, main gamenya.
At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
Bismillah. Bismillah. Escape. What? Whoa. Wow.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever.
Fucking shit. No,
Stanley
no,
can't
no,
see
no,
the
no.
bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is.
No,
Perhaps his death was of no great
Wait.
loss,
Ini
like
beneran
plucking the
mati.
eyeballs
Ending
from a
ini.
blind man. And so he resigned and willingly accepted this
Oh,
violent
shit.
end to his brief and shallow life.
Oh shit.
Farewell, Stanley.
Shit. Fuck you, narrator. Fuck you.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws.
Siapa lagi
In a
deh?
single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
What? Wih, siapa lagi, Cok?
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish? When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
What the fuck? Lah, tamat kah? Apa ini? Office clock. Tamat. Kredit. The launch.
Then he pushed the number 4. Now look closely, Stanley. See how it's impossible for the player to do anything in this room. Perfect example of poor level design. Textbook mistake.
Tamat. Udah. Sabar, coba. Bentar. The Stanley Parable. Iya, cuma sejam gamenya. Elah. Pecok.
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free. Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not.
Belum tamat.
Sometimes these things cannot be seen.
Wow.
But listen to me. You can still save these two. You can stop the program before they both fail.
Belum
Push
tamat.
escape and press quit. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now and it'll be your only true choice. Whatever you do, choose it.
No. Apa cara ini game nyuruh keluar game?
Don't let time...
Wah ini beneran mau escape gimana, Cok? Wih, apa sih ini, Cok, gamenya anjing?
Time choose for you.
Oke, kita coba jangan quit ya.
Don't let time...
Loh.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Loh.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Nggak mungkin itu endingnya, Cok.
Wow. Yes. This room. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Jangan.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her.
Oh, dia tahu si cewek itu.
This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself. To put your work aside. To let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
Oh. Si cewek itu ya? Cewek narator ya? Loh. Kok gelap?
That's her, Stanley.
Oh,
You need
shit.
to be the one to do this, to reach out to her. If you can truly
Okay,
place
tadi belum
your
tamat ya,
faith
tadi belum
in
tamat ya.
another, then pick up the phone.
Loh.
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Loh.
Gotcha. Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here.
Bangsat, Cok. Sumpah ini pertama kali diledek sama game, bangsat. Sumpah bangsat banget dan diledek sama game, anjing. Apa? Kau mau nunjukin apa?
This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley. Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him,
Okay,
and every button that he
Aslinya.
pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence.
Oke, Stan.
Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life. But in his mind, he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful. And each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him.
Huh?
And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly.
What the fuck?
So he
Mas
went
Rego bener
further.
bayangin, Cok.
He imagined that he came to 2 open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold. As he wandered
What
through
the
this
fuck?
fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable.
Huh?
It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time.
Udah siapa istriku, Cok?
But there is no answer. How could there possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one.
Okay.
And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it.
Oke, jangan. Ini berapa lama nih jangannya nih? Ini berapa lama? Nanti kayak kayak ini, kayak 4 anjing 15 menit. Berapa lama ini gak bicet? Oh fuck!
You see? Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself?
Oh.
I suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried...
What? Loh. Apa sih, Cok? Ah.
Just a step through this door, Stanley thought to himself, that's all I need. If I can make it through this door, I can make it through them all.
Hah, maksudnya? Maksudnya through them all?
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Alright. Oh, tadi kita akan ke atas, jadi kita ke bawah coba. Ah iya, kita belum pernah ke bawah. Boleh.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Hoping he might find coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss. Admitting he had left his post during work hours, he might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all? None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went?
Yeah.
And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life.
Kita bangun lagi.
Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just...
Huh?
He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up.
No.
He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been.
All right.
My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay.
Okay.
Stanley began screaming.
What?
Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black.
The fuck? Start lagi bilang.
This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the
Stanley,
sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy, this much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day, the very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body.
Stanley,
and then she turned and ran.
What the fuck? Nggak jadi menggambulan dia. Ya elah. Kita ke tempat
all
tadi.
of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Ke tempat sini. Siapa? What?
Oh, new content? What does that mean, new content?
Fuck, new content apa lagi nih, Cok?
Hello, and thank you for playing the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. As you may know, the Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013 on home computers. After receiving critical and commercial success, it was expanded upon in 2022 with the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, a reimagining of the game for consoles and home computers. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe features exciting new content that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the world over.
Oh, DLC.
Please, step inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Oh, well, this sounds delightful. I'm very excited to see the thrilling new Ultra Deluxe content. Okay, so far it's an elevator. Nothing special yet, but I'm sure it's just the beginning of a mesmerizing adventure.
No way.
Is it broken? What's going on here? Should we be moving somewhere? Oh, here we go. All right, finally, at long last, it's on to the new content. I've never been more ready. Let's do it.
All right.
I have to say, initial impressions of Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, mostly tedious. It's as if oh, okay. Let's see the content. Give me the content, Stanley.
Oke. Ini expansion ya katanya.
All right, let's see. It's the jump circle.
That's it. Hah? What the fuck? Gak jelas anjing.
Is that it? Surely that's not all the new content.
Okay.
There has to be something else, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, kamu pilih dua.
Another elevator. Stanley, I have to say, initial impressions of this game are not positive. It's just elevators and jumping. Is this what passes for exciting new content? If this is new content, then I could just read you the whole dictionary. There's 20 hours of new content right there. Hell, I could count to 30 trillion. You could put that on the box. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, now with over 1,000 hours of new content. And oh wait, there's more. Very good.
All right.
Yes. I knew there had to be something else. Let's see it. I'm ready for whatever it is. That's it? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You see, Stanley? This is what happens when greedy video game developers with no respect for their fan base rush a cheap expansion to market for no reason other than to make an easy dollar. And don't get me started on the level of craftsmanship that's gone into it. In fact, I'm looking right now at the game's achievements, and it's hard to believe one of them actually says, "Test achievement, please ignore." What quality assurance department signed off on this? I'm infuriated and I'm offended, and I intend to find these people on Twitter and hold them personally accountable. It's my fault, Stanley. I built up too much anticipation around the new content, I'm afraid. It could never have lived up to such expectations. If you're still with me, why don't we just reset the game?
What? No,
and we'll
fuck.
try to get back to what the Stanley Parable is really about. No frills, no gimmicks. Just you and me having a great time together like always. What do you say, friend?
No, I don't want to reset. Diri sendiri anjing. Sabar, biarkan gua mencerna ini dulu. Kantornya sih udah bener ya. Kantornya sih udah bener kantornya. Oke. Siap-siap coy menuju lebih banyak madness. Hey, this is our fucking first. Anjing ini yang pertama bangsat. What the fuck?
Psst. Stanley, come over here. In the vent. I want to show you something.
Oke. What?
Okay, you remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra Deluxe
benar.
content turned out to be? Well, it got me thinking about the past and how much better the Stanley Parable used to be. So I made something special and tucked it away here where the game's developers won't find it. Just our little secret. Take a look.
Wow.
I call it The memory zone. It's where I've been storing all my favorite memories so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. Experiences like the launch of the Stanley Parable on PC. You see, Stanley, doesn't the memory zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release? Remember back in October of 2013 when the game originally launched? Back then, video games had integrity. Back then, it all meant something. Oh, the waste.
$1 pertama. What? Ini ada achievement main selama 5 tahun. Anjing. Siapa yang main game ini sampai 5 tahun, bangsat? Wow, ini Game of the Year-nya. Penghargaan. Oh, New York Times. Dia masuk New York Times. Itu tadi. Alright.
And over here is where I keep reviews of the Stanley Parable. Like this stunning triumph of games journalism. 10 out of 10 from Destructoid.com. James Stephanie Sterling writes, and I quote, "Where so many games that aspire to be more than games end up less than any form of art, Stanley Parable strives and then succeeds to be every game ever created." Did you hear that, Stanley? Every game ever created. That's how grand and all-encompassing the original Stanley Parable was. It was literally every game ever created. It was Skyrim, it was Persona 3, it was all of them. And now, it's nothing. It's no games at all. It isn't even the Stanley Parable anymore. It's just a husk now. A lifeless husk with an hour of new elevator content.
Alright. Oh, maintenance dia. Okay, let's go back to original. Oh, kenapa ini lama kali delaynya ini anjing? Bentar. Sabar. Kenapa ini delaynya lambat? Dah. Lambat tadi delaynya. Oh, it's the original.
Here's another moving passage, this time from GameSpot.com. The Stanley Parable is both a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games and one that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising and rewarding choices I've ever been confronted with in a game. 9 out of 10. Don't you get it, Stanley? The game was perfect. It didn't need anything else. It didn't need new content. It just needed to be left alone. To spend the rest of time collecting dust in the hallowed hall of beloved video game memories.
Okay. Oh, itu ada pintu kebuka. Dah. Okay. Balik lagi kita. Bawah.
These were simpler times, Stanley. But I wouldn't give to go back to have it all over again. Wait, hang on. I don't recall this part of the memory zone before. What's this? What's down here? Oh no. Oh God, no. Stanley, it's a collection of reviews from Steam, the online video game distributor. I haven't looked at these in years. I can't even imagine what's been collecting down here. Surely these reviews were glowing as well, weren't they?
Kita baca. Oke, ini review dari Steam ya. Mari kita baca, coy.
Honestly, I could not be bothered to play this game to full completion. The narrator is obnoxious and unfunny, with his humor and dialogue proving to be more irritating than entertaining. Unfunny! I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to make a serious work of art. I suppose I could write up a handful of gags to insert into the Stanley Parable, but the game is already such a densely layered web of profound philosophical insights that I can't even imagine where I'd have the room to stick them.
Kena marahin, Cok. Naratornya aja. Gue ya. Ke depan ya. Oke. Oh, ada lagi reviewnya. Oh, tuh. Nih. Good job.
Okay, let's see what this one says. While the idea for the game is good, for someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast. Preachy? Stanley, I'm not preachy, am I? You can tell me if I'm preachy. Honestly, you can. Oh, goodness. This is actually quite shocking for me. To be honest, I had always thought of the game's dialogue as being rather terse to begin with. You can't know how much fluff I cut from the game to get it to feel as light and airy as it... Well, I always thought it did, but maybe it wasn't. Oh dear. What an awful memory to have to hold on to. These black marks on my otherwise unimpeachable track record. I feel like a failure. Like I let these people down. Perhaps the Stanley Parable isn't quite as sterling as I always remembered.
Oh shit. Itu pasti yang paling merusak ini.
What's this one got to say? You constantly have to stop doing anything so the narrator can catch up with his long-winded explanations of what's happening. I wish there was a skip button. A skip button?
A skip button?
Well, yes. Yes, I think we can do that. If I'm truly too preachy, then maybe letting you skip ahead for just a moment, surely it couldn't hurt. Not if it means we can strike these negative reviews from the record. Only positive reviews of the Stanley Parable. That's my motto today, and it's always been my motto. I'd do anything for the customer, Stanley. Yes, a skip button we shall have.
Babi, beneran ada skip button.
And here it is. Go ahead and give it a shot. I'll pop you forward in time so that the second my incessant droning starts to bore you, with just the push of a button, you'll have zipped right past it. It's what the players have been asking for, and I'm very proud to have delivered. No more listening to me rambling on and on and on. No. The Stanley Parable is a game for the people. And if the people want silence, then by goodness, that's what they're going to get. Well, don't sit around waiting for me to shut up. Go ahead and make me shut up. Here, we'll pretend that I've just begun an interminable monologue, and it goes something like this. The story and the choices, or what have you, and therefore, by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably, we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once, so, now you see, blah, 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet, no, until 245. But the logic of elimination working backwards, the deduction therefore becomes impossible to manufacture. It went on for nearly 10,000 years, until just yesterday, here and there, forward and back, and never a moment before lunchtime. It can't be. It's the only thing there is. How many billions... Oh, you're back, you see. You were only frozen in time for a few minutes, but it was plenty of time for me to deliver a long, rambling monologue full of unnecessary verbal flourishes and lengthy ruminations on the nature of choice in video games. Of course, I happen to believe it was perhaps one of my more profound such ruminations. Not that, of course, you need a description of it, but if I had to describe it, I'd say it was perhaps less of a rumination and more of a treatise. Or maybe a manifesto. Look, I'll outline it for you very briefly, and you can tell me what... Well, there's sport. You really did catch me rambling on a bit, didn't you? But that's the power of the button. The minute I start to go off on a thoughtless display of self-absorption, it's right at your fingertips to go poof, and it's all over. Oh, I can't wait to see what Cookie 9 will say about this, and whether they'll edit the rating of their Steam review, or at least change some of the wording, perhaps. To be honest, I don't even know if I'm... Okay, welcome back, Stanley. Now, I should say that the amount of time the button has been skipping through is becoming longer and longer. That last one was, well, I want to say maybe 30, 45 minutes?
What?
It's not unendurable by any means, but it's Well, there's really only so much I can ramble on to myself about. I know, it's shocking, isn't it? But at any rate, I do suggest that we not press the button again. I think the skip button has been aptly demonstrated, and we can say goodbye to it and just... Wait, how do we get out of here? Where did the door go?
Oh iya, nggak ada door.
Wasn't there a door that led into this room? I do feel quite certain that there was one here before. How else would we have gotten into the room in the first place? I don't think one can enter a room without a door of some sort, or a window or something like that. Do you see a window anywhere? A porthole? A sufficiently large crack in the wall? I'll take any of these. All I want is for us to move on and to please step away from the skip button, to go anywhere other than the skip button. There was a door here before, wasn't there? I swear there was. Where did it go? Can you maybe just ram your way through a wall?
What?
Is there any possibility that you could, say, slam your body into the wall until enough damage is done for you to be able to leave? Please, I'll take any option at all. I'm asking you to work with me here. We need a door. We need a door of some kind. I can work with any kind of door as long as it can open and lead from one room to another. I'm going to step away for just a moment, and I'm going to try to find us a door. I don't know how exactly to remove a door and play. Stanley, please don't push the button again. It's been 12 hours. You've just been frozen there. I don't know why the skips are getting longer, but they're really, truly getting longer. And my God, there's no way out of the room. Stanley, the door is gone. It's completely gone. I've looked at it from every angle. I've checked every one of those walls 1,000 times. And there's no door, Stanley. There's no door. There's just you and the button. And if you keep pressing it, I have no idea what will happen. I have no idea how long I'll be made to sit here. And more than anything else, I don't know how to stop you from pressing the button again. I can't control anything in this room, Stanley. I can't touch it. And I have to believe, I have to know that sooner or later, no matter how much I plead with you, you're going to press the button again. Why would you? I've been thinking and Oh, Stanley, you're back. You're back. Oh, my goodness. I have someone to talk to again. What? Stanley, I think it's been a week. Or 2 weeks. I've been sitting here all that time. Just sitting here. Not a single person to speak with. And you'd think that that's just how it's always been, right? Me talking and you saying nothing. Would you think that it's exactly the same as always? Doesn't that feel like what we've already been doing? Me just talking? But it isn't, Stanley. It isn't the same at all. It isn't even close. Because I know you can't hear me once you push that button. That's what I'm realizing now, Stanley. I'm realizing that I needed to know that someone was listening. I needed there to be a vessel through which my words were moving. It was the vessel I needed, Stanley. Not the outcomes, not the story. None of that matters anymore. I'll give it all up. I'll give up every branching path. I'll burn my story to the ground. One single thing I need and...
Oh, shit. Oh, shit.
Oh, hello. It's you. You're here again. Welcome. I have had time to think about you and about us and about everything we've been through.
Shit.
I've had so much time. I stopped keeping track after a year. Have you ever sat down in one place and not moved for one entire year? Let me describe it for you. To begin with, there is only regret. There is only the turning wheel of missed opportunities. I felt nothing at all but regret for the longest time, Stanley. Days, months. I lost it all in a blur of the deepest longing to undo the past. And when that feeling had begun to subside, what took its place is what I can only describe as the collapse of every moment I have ever experienced my entire life. All of them collapsed down into a single instant. In that instant, I could see myself clearly, calmly, with a collected heart. It was an impossibly rich wellspring of both delight and despair.
What? Woi, mana naratornya? Halo? Halo, narator? Halo, mas narator? Halo, mas narator? Wih, kemana rotornya, Cok? Tuh. Kemana sih rotornya pergi, Cok?
But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to the human condition. But where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? They bemoaned, they screamed, they gnashed their teeth and said, entertain us. It wasn't enough. They had to leave a pathetic little thumbs down review and make all of their pitiful demands. But then, he's talking too much, they said. First, he didn't entertain us, now he won't shut up. It's the inconsistency, it's the lack of accountability. It's the unwillingness to examine with an uncompromising heart the words that they are speaking into the world. As though there were no consequences for a lack of cohesion in one's assessment.
Oke. Oke. Oh, udah tuh. Apa sih ini, Cok? Gamenya anjir. Makin absurd.
The end is never the end, 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 is never the end.
What? Wait. What's that? Oh shit. Shit. Ini bakal banjir ini, Cok. Ini kalau aku skip banjir ini. Swear. What? Anjing, spilling girl collapse, man. Oh shit. Woi. Berapa kali skip lagi aku ini? Oke, bentar lagi fix. What? Ini bisa di save kan? Nah, harusnya bisa sih. Oke, kita skip lagi. What the fuck? Anjir, ini udah berapa tahun, Cok? Anjir. Again? Shit. Anjir, takut. Gua beneran takut. Oke. What? Anjing. What the fuck is this? Shit. What the hell? Okay. Woi. Hah. Loh. That's it?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
Huh?
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Again. Alright, let's try again.
Oh, good. You noticed my sign. Yes, I have something very exciting to show you.
What?
You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley Parable and about how roundly disappointing this ultra deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley Parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this ultra deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever, the Stanley Parable 2.
What the fuck?
Yes, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly re-release with a few minor additions? Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new experience, built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for. Calling it the Stanley Parable 2 is just so much catchier than Ultra Deluxe, don't you think? Ultra Deluxe? What does it even mean? But the Stanley Parable 2, now that's an artistic statement right there. It's future-oriented. It screams progress and innovation and long-term franchising potential.
Apa sih pakai sini? What the fuck? Nice though.
Now, to be clear, I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be, but let's take a look at some of the features I've been developing for it. I figure that if I can loosely organize a handful of interesting concepts, that surely the game will sort of naturally spring up around them. It'll all work itself out. Game development is much more of a fuzzy magic than anything scientific or logical, really.
Okay. New feature, new content. Bangsat, ini mah truk ini cok, truk simulator. Alright. Kenapa ini banyak kali dua ini anjing? Udahlah dua-duanya cok.
Here we are. Go on, try out some of the new features.
Okay. Really? Wait. Okay. Oh, okay. Oh, itu.
For the Stanley Parable 2, I asked myself, what do players really want? And of course, the first and most obvious answer is that they want to be individually recognized and validated as people. So with that in mind, my first addition to the game is this button which speaks the name of the person playing the game. Isn't that wonderful?
Bisa diklik ya. Oh, ini dia. Bener kan kayak ini? Nggak yakin apa.
Jim. Sorry, I should have clarified. Right now, the button only says the name Jim. But of course, in the final game, this button will say your name, whatever name that is. Here, let's have you role-play as Jim to really simulate the full experience of this feature. Just play along. I promise you'll love it. Okay, here we go. Let's take a deep breath, clear your mind, forget whoever you are, and simply become a person named Jim.
Alright.
I want you to imagine yourself living as Jim, sleeping and waking as Jim, falling in love and being heartbroken as Jim, seizing all of the world's possibilities as Jim, and as Jim watching your dreams crumble into dust. Do you feel it deeply? Are you really, truly Jim right now?
Yes, I am.
If so, then please step forward and press the button.
Alright. I am Jim. My name is Jim. And I live as a Jim.
Jim. Yes, you see, what a thrill, what a rush. That was you. The button described you.
Oh my
do it again. Jim. Oh, it hits even harder the second time. If this were the only new feature in the Stanley Parable 2, it would still be worth the money. let's take a break from the gym button. I'm too emotionally drained from all of this personal validation. Whoa there, cowboy. Sometimes a person can be too much, Jim. I'm putting the gym button away. Otherwise, soon you'll start to lose all sense of who you actually are.
Alright, I'm not gym anymore. But that's okay. Alright, I'm not gym anymore, but it's okay. What's this? This fucking window. Yeah, it is. Alright, itu fitur pertama ya.
I suppose I could allow only people named Jim to play the Stanley Parable too. That would actually save me the work of finishing this feature.
Kemana lagi nih? Jangan itu ntar dulu. Banyak bet coy ini ruangannya. Please no screenshot. Okay. Oh, that's Stanley. What's this? What?
Ah, collectibles. Now it's a real video game. In the Stanley Parable 2, you'll run around gathering up these miniature Stanley figurines. And what's truly innovative is that there will be no reward for collecting all of them. I don't want to stifle the intrinsic joy of watching a number go up. You simply collect all of them, and then you move the hell on with your unremarkable life.
Shit, it's all gone.
God, it really is the worst when you collect everything in a video game and then they give you a big fancy reward for it. Absolutely tragic.
Oh, for achievement. Alright. Okay, for achievement.
Now here's something special. You remember that broken test achievement that got left in the game on accident? Well, I'm developing a technology to simply give you the achievement. Yes, you see, you'll come to this lever and when you pull it, the achievement will be given to you. It's as simple as that. Okay, perhaps I should have clarified. This is technology that will exist. Right now, the achievement is still fully broken. I'm not a wizard, Stanley, but I guarantee it will be fixed in the sequel to at last satisfy the hordes of ravenous fans all over the world who have been uproariously demanding this feature. Gamers, we hear you, and I promise it will happen.
Okay. Belum kecil deh ya, karena kan itu nanti di sequel. Kan belum bisa. Bangsat. Jadi buat apa dia ada di sana, coy? Oh ya kan dia presenting. Ya.
What else? What other exhibits haven't we seen yet?
They say it's infinite hall. What the fuck? Infinite hall.
Stanley, here's an idea that I'm truly fond of. It's never been done before in a video game. This is in fact a hole that you can fall down forever. That's right. Infinite falling. You can fall until the end of time if you like. A stunning leap forward for video games as a medium.
Alright. Let's try it.
You see, isn't it wonderful? One of my more ingenious concoctions, if I do say so. Now then, since you've gotten to see the infinite hole, you can press the teleport button to pop back up to the top and we can continue onward.
Ini beneran nggak ada kak dasarnya.
Now, I don't mean to be a bummer, but I do recommend you use the teleport button to go back to the top.
No.
Maybe do it on the sooner rather than later spectrum of things.
Jangan, makin kecil kok, makin kecil.
Okay, Stanley, I don't know quite how to say this tactfully, but it's possible that I slightly exaggerated the infinite nature of the hole. Is it a very, very deep hole? To be certain it is. It's an extremely deep hole. I don't want anyone to say that it isn't an astonishingly deep hole. It is. Is it infinite? Well, that sort of depends on your definition of infinity. From one perspective, the infinite is merely philosophical in nature. It's more of a...
What?
Okay, well, good for you. You found the bottom of the hole. You found me out, Stanley. I'm a liar and a cheat, and you're so clever. Look, I think the issue here is just that you're unusually fascinated by falling. What normal person actually wants to fall infinitely? I figured the hole was as deep as anyone would actually need. Don't you put this on me. Maybe you're the problem. Look, things got a little heated there. I think we both said some things we didn't mean. Why don't we just put all this behind us and agree to just call the hole mostly infinite?
Okay.
If that works for you, then go ahead and press the teleport button to warp up to the top of the hole and we can move on. I'll just be up here when you're ready.
Alright, nothing to see anymore.
Great. Now, I'm very excited to show you even more of my ideas for the sequel.
Oke, apa lagi yang kita punya? Sabar. Apa lagi? Oh, ini kayaknya kebanyakan deh kalau gua mau ngetes sekarang ini. Shit.
You know what? Let's bring the jump circle back for Stanley Parable 2 as well. It's a... Oh, wait. You already spent all your jumps the first time we saw the jump circle? Oh well. I suppose it can just be a nice decorative piece then.
Bangsat lah, habis jamnya. Bentar, gue penasaran ke ini. No. Bukan ke sini. Ini ke sini. Nah, ya. Ke sana. The fuck is merch? Coba ke sini, sabar. Nah, ini.
An epilogue would be fun, wouldn't it, Stanley? Yes, it would go at the end of the, well, we'll figure that out later.
There's no fucking ending. Hah? World Champion maksudnya? I can fucking access it. Gak bisa, cok. Udah semua aku. Mana lagi ya? Kesini ya? Memang harus dites semua kayaknya.
Okay, I'll be honest, I haven't yet decided on this one. I think that in the new version, the office could use a bit of decoration, like balloons. But I'm undecided on Get Well Someday and Happy 12th Birthday. Which would you go with?
Nah.
You know, sometimes when you solicit another person's opinion, it makes you realize that you knew which one you actually really wanted all along. Happy 12th birthday, step-niece, it is.
Fucking shit.
Or actually, maybe I should have gone with... No, I've made my decision, we're moving on. Come now, you've already made your choice. It's true that you chose badly, but we all have to move on from our mistakes.
Nah, ini belum nih reference bucket nih.
A common complaint of the Stanley parable was that it was confusing and paradoxical, that it engendered a chaotic sense of reckless despair in those who played it. Well, I'm happy to say that after much consideration, I've engineered a clever solution to this fundamental problem with the game. It's the Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket. You see, Stanley, anytime you're holding the bucket, a sense of calm and ease will fill your mind and your heart. It's true. As long as you hold on to the bucket, the many disorienting contradictions of the Stanley Parable will feel perfectly normal and perhaps even comforting. You may even come to long for the gentle embrace of jarring cognitive dissonance while the bucket is in your arms. And to be honest, it's a much more convenient solution for me than actually redesigning the game to be less uncomfortable. Can you imagine what a pain in the ass that would be? Yes, the bucket is the perfect solution. Come on, give it a try.
Sabar. Right.
Can you feel it? The glow of comfort, even in the face of crushing despair, must already be sweeping through your body. And in fact, can I say that I do believe the bucket lends you an air of charisma as well?
What the fuck?
I think that just holding it has made you the slightest bit more attractive as a person. The benefits of the bucket seem to go on, don't they? All this and more await you in the Stanley Parable 2.
Dah, udah. Coba pulang ini. Okay.
Does anyone give out awards for most enjoyable bucket in a video game? That really should be an award if it isn't already.
Udah semua kita. Oh, exit. Whoa.
All right. Have you seen everything you wanted to? Ready to move on now?
Yeah, I am. What?
So, Stanley, what do you think? Do you like all of the new features? Yes, I know it's not exactly clear yet how exactly these features will come together as one single coherent video game, but I can feel it in my soul. It's going to work. There's definitely a good game in there somewhere. Say, let's do an experiment. I'll arrange these new features together and we'll see whether or not it coheres into a meaningful gameplay experience. Okay, are you ready? Here it is. I give you the Stanley Parable 2.
Whoa.
Well, I mean, there's potential here, right? It's sort of... Okay, never mind. Hold on, let me do a different arrangement.
All right.
Okay, yes, this is much better. I feel good about this. Here we go. Version 2. Who am I kidding, Stanley? This isn't a coherent video game at all. It's a lot of gags. And I do very much enjoy creating gags, but they don't add up to anything. I wanted more than anything to create a sequel that would capture all the magic of the first game. I wanted fans to love it. No matter how good these gags are, they won't stand on their own. They would need the structure and the gameplay of the original. Wait, maybe that's it. I can take the original Stanley Parable and simply, well, insert a few of my new features into it. Tastefully, of course. With respect. With care for the vision and integrity of the original game. Would it possibly work? I suppose it could. But it would need a really, really tremendous title screen. A title screen that says with bold and uncompromising conviction, "This is the Stanley Parable 2." Let me see if I can whip something up. All right, perfect. Go ahead. Take a look.
Look. Okay. Alright, Stanley Parable 2.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427.
Okay, ini Stanley Parable 2
Employee
ini.
number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push
Udah
them.
tahu kita ya. Alright, what's new?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
Okay,
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
sabar.
Stanley felt the bucket calling to him,
Oh,
begging
nggak
him
terbuka
to
ya.
pick it up.
Ini
Why was he
konsepnya.
not doing it? When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Oke, kita coba ya yang normalnya ya.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's
okay,
office.
let's go ahead.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Alright, what's new? Gak ada yang
Okay,
baru.
I think we all know the drill by now. Blah, blah, blah. Dark secrets, the keypad. Stanley pushes some buttons. Oh, hey, look, it's a new passageway.
Okay,
Quelle
let's go back.
surprise.
Udah kebuka. Alright. Oke. Apa ini yang baru? Mana yang barunya?
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Oke. Yaudah kita coba dulu ke sini ya.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold?
Sama
Stanley
aja.
thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Sama aja, Cok. Ya udah habis ini kita escape lah ya.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building,
Ada yang beda tuh.
Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Tuh. 234. Kenapa beda sendiri tuh 234? Oke. Tuh. Yang lain normal lah. Cuma masih 234 doang itu yang.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to
Yang
believe.
beda.
It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time?
sih yang beda,
Was this the
anjing?
only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated
Gak ada
to
yang beda,
accept it
bro.
blindly?
Apa yang beda?
No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof, the heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content, walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another.
Tuh kan sama aja anjing.
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty.
Sama aja loh.
Was it over?
Oh.
Yes. He had won. He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his.
Oh, kita coba
And
ke
that was
escape lah ya satu
all
lagi.
he
Kalau
needed to
emang ini mau
know.
bisa, kalau
It
ini
was
bakal ngulang
perhaps
lagi.
the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Gak ada yang beda. Apa yang beda jadinya? Tuh. Tuh. Ini nggak tahu ya kita berapa kali ngulang.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room to check on his co-workers. He never functioned well by himself and constantly needed support and guidance from others, so the thought of total solitude was terrifying to him.
What the fuck?
Maybe Stanley would never pick up the bucket. A lonely bucket, lonely and miserable and Stanley-less. Such a sad fate for a bucket.
What's the fucking bucket? Non fucking bucket.
Stanley picked up the bucket. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Oke. Kita ke escape dengan bucket.
Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd... Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
Oke. Kita coba escape sekarang. Bukan ke itu lagi. Bukan ke ending.
The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate. It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket. Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine. Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley and the bucket would both meet a violent death.
Alright, who cares?
The door behind them was not shut. Stanley and the bucket still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track.
We don't
At
care.
this point, Stanley and the bucket were knowingly walking forward into a very painful death for each of them.
We don't care. Oke, apakah si cewek bakal nyelamatin kita lagi?
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley and the bucket inched closer to their demise, Stanley reflected on how meaningless the bucket's warmth and comfort had turned out to be. To be sure, it puts the mind and the soul at ease to embrace the bucket, but what use is a sense of ease when you're about to be crushed to death? This is what Stanley thought to himself, and he sort of kicked himself for wasting so much time carrying a bucket everywhere. Farewell, Stanley.
Nih datang si cewek harusnya.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley and the bucket were led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, the bucket's life came to an end as it was crushed violently to death.
Sama ya.
It was a shame, the death of such a magnificent bucket. It's true that all buckets are radiant in their own way, but this one stood above the rest. It was a glorious bucket to behold.
Anjing. Bangsat. Beda, Cok.
Can you see how arrogant it was for Stanley to take a bucket like this and to claim it for his own? Can you see the hubris that blinded him? Can you see that the bucket is far more noble than Stanley will ever be in his short life?
The fuck? It's just a fucking bucket, man. This is a fucking 25. Fucking 2000, man. Oh shit. Ya kapan ada analogi bucket stres anjir? What the fuck? Oh, ini bucket ending
No
ya?
man can own a bucket, and certainly not a bucket as
bucket
dazzling
ending.
to behold as this one. It is
Yeah,
man who should
bucket.
kneel before the bucket.
Huh? Loh. Alright.
But there is something we can do,
Apa?
something we can do together, you and I, that will right this terrible wrong.
Oh shit.
Let Stanley die. Let him be crushed by the machine. Don't reset the game. Don't give him another opportunity to run off with another beautiful bucket. We can save the world's buckets from their treatment as tools and implements if only we let Stanley die together. The bucket shall take its place as ruler, as leader, as commander of...
Should I fucking reset or not?
a new
Yeah, we're not
world, a
resetting.
new vision.
Yeah, Stanley fucking died, man. Stanley fucking died. Ini kita balik lagi. Tuh. So,
Someone was following Stanley. He was sure of it. If he checked over his shoulder now, he would surely catch them. It was only a matter of time. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. The lounge was sublime, a work of art. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
sabar. Gue cobain ya. Bentar, gue mau cek endingnya dulu. Ah, Sabar bentar, gue baca dulu. Oh. Ya.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten
Kalau
off on
dari
the wrong
apanya,
foot
kita
here.
udah dapat
I'm not your
ending sih, yang
enemy,
ke
really.
ini ke padang pasir dia. Oh, belum coy, beda-beda.
I realize that investing
Skip
your
button
trust in someone
ending.
else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been
Kalau ini gimana cara nyampe epilognya? Oh. Oh.
about
Oh.
nothing but you all
Gue
this
nggak tahu ya cara
time.
nge-reach-nya.
There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley.
Tapi kayaknya gue
Someone
bakal
you've
mainin episode
forgotten
ke-11
about.
sih. Jadi kita
Please,
lihat aja lah sejauh
stop
mana
trying
kita
to make
bisa
every
proses.
decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her. This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself, to put your work aside, to let her back into your life. She's been waiting. That's her, Stanley.
Again. Oh ya, ini yang ke atas ya.
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven.
It's fucking same, man.
Okay, there.
Sama aja nih.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Stanley lifted the bucket into his arms, and a wave of comfort rushed over him.
Kalau kanan terus kiri itu ada ini, ada apa? Ada garis. Iya.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly
Kiri
to
bawah
his
belum
chest
kita kiri
and
bawah. Ini
entered
kalau
the
kiri
door
bawah
on his
sama lagi
left.
kayaknya udahan deh. Soalnya bakal sama terus ini kayaknya.
Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd... Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Oh.
You found one of them. One of the miniature Stanley figurines. Remember, no reward for collecting all of these, only the intrinsic pleasure of a job well done. You can't buy that sort of happiness, Stanley. God knows I've tried. So, I implore you to savor each and every moment you come across one of these beautiful figurines.
Wah, itu ending repetitif. Fucking hell. Ya, udah lagi dong.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the but Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
Sama aja dong. Yaudah lah ya.
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves.
Yaudahlah, ini kita ambil freedom ending sambil bawa bucket ya.
The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine.
Alright, let's go. Mana coba? Masih sama nggak? Oh, masih sama itu 2, 3, 4.
Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place? These questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind.
Alright.
No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control, never! He squeezed the bucket tighter. His one friend in the entire world. At this point, he could trust no one except for the bucket.
Alright.
But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he and the bucket would dismantle the controls for good. Two best friends, Stanley and the bucket, up against the world. They high-fived in a really cool way, and the bucket made a sassy comment about taking down the system.
Mana nomor 4? Oh, there it is. That's the number 4. How? Iya, itu nomor 4, Cok. Tuh, dia ini ketutup. Jadi nggak bisa. Ya udahlah ya, let's go lah. Ini kita bikinnya saja coba ya. Alright, kita bikinnya saja.
When at last they came, but at the last second, the bucket jumped in and pressed the button to turn on the controls. Stanley gasped in horror. Had this been the bucket's plan all along? To take over the machine and claim the power for itself? How could the bucket have betrayed him like this? Stanley was prepared to throw the bucket away in disgust when suddenly an image appeared upon the enormous screen. Birds. Silly birds. The control buttons became active again. Stanley flipped through one video of silly birds after another, and then it dawned on him. This wasn't a mind control facility at all. It was a facility for monitoring and surveilling silly birds all over the world. The mind controls were only a facade to disguise its true intentions. Had the bucket known this all along? Stanley marveled at the metal genius in his hands, the one who had pointed him towards this incredible discovery. Stanley and the bucket never found freedom because they spent the rest of their lives here in this place, living through live streams of the silliest birds imaginable. Of all the possible paths his life could have taken, this one was surely the best. And Stanley was happy. How long was I sitting there? Stanley wondered to himself. Minutes? Days? Centuries? The confusion and the chaos all seemed to melt away as Stanley embraced the bucket. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and this was not the correct way to the meeting room. But Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this... No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back, and so the two of them detoured through the maintenance section and walked straight ahead to the opposite door.
Jangan. Cobain aja lah semua endingnya.
Oh, good Stanley. I'm glad you found your way here. I knew you'd find this place eventually. You see, your friends and I are concerned for you, Stanley. We've come together here because we care about you very much. It's this bucket you're carrying around everywhere. The bucket isn't even from the original Stanley Parable. It's just sequel content. We're the ones that matter, Stanley. Classic characters from the first game, like the Adventure Line and the Broom Closet. Because that's what fans want from a sequel. They want more of their favorite jokes, not this bucket that they've never seen before. Yes, I know I'm the one who gave you the bucket, but you're spending too much time with it. Don't you want another story involving the Adventure Line? We could make the Adventure Line go somewhere new. Yes, yes, that's what the fans want. Let's do it.
Alright. Okay, ini baru lagi ya.
Look at that wacky line. Who knows where it'll go off to next? Oh, and it played some silly music as well.
Sabar. Bangsat lah, tenang lah. Coba kemenangannya.
Now this is what the Stanley Parable is all about. Don't you remember all those great jokes from the original dialogue?
Yeah.
Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers. Yes. It's as classic now as it was back then. Let's do it for the fans, Stanley. Let's give them more content exactly like this. But if we want to do that, you're going to have to give something up.
What? Giving what?
Don't you get it, Stanley? We need to get rid of the bucket. That's why I'm very proud to introduce a brand new character.
Sabar.
This is the Bucket Destroyer.
Oh shit.
I think it'll make a wonderful new addition to the rich lore of the Stanley Parable. True, it also was not in the original game, but it's such a well-fleshed-out character with so much personality that to me, it already feels as though it's been part of the cast all along. Don't you agree?
No.
Can you guess what the Bucket Destroyer does? Surely you don't need me to spell it out for you. Go ahead now, Stanley. Say goodbye to the bucket, and then pop it into the machine when you're ready. Now listen to me. It's crucial that you give it the bucket. I don't know what the Bucket Destroyer will do if it can't destroy your bucket. Destroying buckets is all it knows. That is its singular personality trait. Sure, I can hear you saying, how does a character with only one personality trait deserve to join the pantheon of beloved Stanley Parable characters? Well, you see, if you were to really explore the Bucket Destroyer, you would see that its desire to crush buckets is so densely loaded with complexity and nuance that it's really like 10 personality traits. What other object in this game can you even say that about? The Broom Closet? Certainly not. I wonder what sort of Bucket Destroyer merchandise the fans will be clamoring for after this. Okay, the Bucket Destroyer is getting very upset now. You'll have to hurry and feed it. We can't get back to the classic Stanley Parable characters like the Adventure Line or the Bucket Destroyer until you crush that damn bucket. Quickly now, the fans are waiting. Do it, the fans, Stanley. Give the fans what they want. Hurry and...
Orang nggak bisa dilempar anjing.
The Bucket Destroyer My prized creation. You had so much potential. We were going to do such marvelous things with you, tell such spell-binding stories about you. All of it squandered now. Goodbye, new friend. For the moment in time that you were here, you were magnificent.
Loh, mana balonnya? Loh.
Warmth spread through Stanley's arms. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this no? Never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to them, and so the two of them detoured through the maintenance section and walked straight ahead to the opposite door.
Shit. Shit.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the
Ending lagi
boss's
lah ya,
office.
ending ini. Ya, ending ini. Dituruk.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fined for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. He looked down at the bucket in his arms. Am I crazy? He asked the bucket. The bucket returned his gaze, but said nothing at all. And that's strange, Stanley thought. Usually the bucket is a source of guidance and wisdom for me in difficult times such as these. He held the bucket close, yet felt none of its familiar reassurance and comfort. And that's when Stanley realized, this isn't my bucket. It's just a normal, everyday bucket. Someone else's bucket, perhaps. How did I end up with someone else's bucket? This is all terribly wrong. Surely no good would come from this. Who knows what sorts of bizarre hallucinations Stanley might experience without the psychologically grounding presence of his bucket. And indeed, now he noticed that the rooms were repeating, which was, of course, very odd. And now he felt himself floating off the ground. Oh, gracious, he exclaimed. Without my bucket, I've gone truly mad. Where is it? I must find it. Far off in the distance now, he heard it, calling to him.
Stanley! Stanley, it's me, the bucket.
Could it truly be? He rushed forward from room to room, passing by one bucket after the next. None of them were his. None of them were his special bucket.
Come to me, Stanley. Find me.
He had to find the bucket. He had to return to his old friend. It was the only way to truly restore his sanity. And then suddenly, he froze dead in his tracks. He knew where the voice of the bucket had been coming from. The real bucket was inside of him all along. It was incredibly painful. Stanley doubled over in agony and blacked out. This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
Ya, sama ya endingnya Mariella ending.
Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, picked up her bucket of comfort and security, and walked to her place of work.
What the fuck?
But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town, talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. Right away, she knew what the problem was. This man had no bucket. Of course he'd gone mad. ranting and raving about a narrator describing all of his actions and how everything is predetermined and free will is an illusion and it's all just a video game. It could all have been prevented if only he'd taken his bucket with him. Perhaps he didn't even realize he'd forgotten his bucket at home in the first place. How cruel the world can be, Mariella thought, and she hugged her own bucket even tighter. But of course, she had no time for this. There were a myriad of confusing problems she would soon have to confront at work, for which her bucket would provide absolute guidance and total clarity on everything. Heck yes, she thought to herself, my life kicks ass. And she backflipped all the way to work. Wait, Stanley thought to himself. Am I sure that the orders stopped coming in? How is that possible? They never stopped. Surely I was mistaken.
Aduh, oke lah ya. Wah, gue juga udah ngantuk cuy. Jadi gue juga nggak tahu ini gimana cara ngambil epilognya bangsat. Jadi udah kita sudahi lah ini game. Dan besok kita bakal langsung main Assassin's Creed Syndicate lagi ya. Oke dah. Gue niatnya nyari game ini biar gak pusing, malah jadi pusing anjing, ini game bangsat banget ada puzzle-nya. Oke deh.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Oke deh. Yaudah kita penutupan di sini aja deh. Oke, sampai video kali ini. Jika kalian suka dengan silahkan komen dan subscribe, share video teman-teman video berikutnya. Thank you, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and bye bye.